galaxy was old. The Galactic Coalition had ruled for 10,000 years. They had ships that could cross between stars in days. They had weapons that could break planets in half. They had soldiers from 100 different worlds, each one trained to fight and kill. When they came to Earth, humanity had no chance. The war lasted only 6 months. Human weapons were like toys against Coalition shields. Human ships were slow and weak. Human soldiers were brave, but too few. In the end, humanity surrendered. They had no other choice. The Coalition did not destroy Earth. They had a better use for humans. Humans were small and clever with their hands. They could fix things and build things. They could work in tight spaces where larger species could not fit. So humans became workers, servants, the lowest class in the galactic order. That was 200 years ago. Kang. Dohan was born on a space station called Omega 7. He never saw Earth. His parents never saw Earth. His grandparents had been taken from their home in Korea when they were young children. Now they were all dead, and Dohan was alone except for his younger sister. Omega 7 was not a nice place to live. It was a junkyard. When the Coalition threw away their old machines, they sent them here. Broken ships, damaged robots, failed weapons. Mountains of metal and wire floated in the darkness of space, held together by the station's weak gravity field. Humans lived in the station's lower levels. They fixed small things for the Coalition officers who passed through. They scraped rust and sorted parts. It was boring, dirty work, but it kept them alive. Dohan was 34 years old. He had rough hands covered with small cuts and burns. His eyes were tired, but always watching, always thinking. He was a mechanic, like his father and his father's father. But Dohan was different from them. He saw things in the junk that others did not see. His sister Yuna was 28. She was smart and practical. She ran their small repair shop while Dohan spent his time in the scrapyard. She worried about him constantly. One evening, Yuna found Dohan in his workshop behind the shop. He was sitting on the floor surrounded by robot parts. Oil covered his clothes. He had not eaten in 2 days. "Brother, you need to stop this," Yuna said. She put a bowl of rice in front of him. "You spend all your time with these broken machines. For what? The Coalition says robots are useless. They stopped using them 50 years ago." Dohan picked up a small metal sphere. It was a processor core, the brain of a robot. Rust covered its surface, but he held it gently, like it was precious. "Do you know why they stopped using robots?" he asked. Yuna sat down across from him. Because robots kept failing. They were not as good as organic soldiers. Everyone knows this. That is what they tell us. Dohan turned the processor in the light. "But I have been reading the old data files. The robots did not fail because they were weak. They failed because the Coalition programmed them wrong." Yuna did not understand. "What do you mean?" "The Coalition thinks in a certain way. They are predators. They believe in strength and dominance. They made their robots think the same way. Cold, aggressive, following orders without question." Dawn set the processor down carefully. "But that is not how intelligence works. Real thinking requires curiosity, creativity, connection. The Coalition robots had none of these things. So they broke. And you think you can do better?" Yuna shook her head. "Brother, you are one human mechanic on a garbage station. The Coalition has scientists on 1,000 worlds. If they could not make robots work, how can you?" Dawn smiled. It was a small, tired smile, but his eyes were bright. "Because I am not trying to make them work," he said. "I am trying to help them live." That night, after Yuna went to sleep, Dawn returned to the scrapyard. He walked through mountains of broken metal under the cold light of distant stars. Most people feared the scrapyard at night. They said ghosts lived there, the spirits of dead machines. Dohan was not afraid. He felt at home here, deep in the junkyard. He found what he was looking for. It was an old mining robot, model K7. The Coalition had used thousands of these machines to dig ore from asteroids. This one had been thrown away 10 years ago because of a software error that made it unpredictable. The robot was as tall as Dohan and twice as wide. Its body was shaped like a barrel with 4 thick arms. One arm was missing. Its optical sensors were cracked and dark. Dohan sat down in front of it. He took out his tools and opened a panel on its chest. Inside, wires and circuits lay tangled like dead veins. "Hello," Dohan said softly. "My name is Dohan. I know you cannot hear me yet, but I am going to fix that. And then I am going to do something no one has ever done before." He began to work, his hands moving slowly and carefully. "I am not going to give you orders," he continued. "I am not going to program you to serve. I am going to talk to you. I am going to teach you. And one day, I hope you will teach me too." The stars turned overhead. The junkyard was silent except for the soft sounds of Dohan's tools. Somewhere in the darkness, the broken robot waited. It did not know yet that everything was about to change. 3 years passed. Dohan worked on the robot every night. He replaced broken wires. He cleaned corroded circuits. He rebuilt the damaged arm using parts from other machines. Slowly, the robot began to function again, but that was only the easy part. The hard part was the Mind Coalition. Robots were programmed with strict commands. Do this. Do not do that. Obey your master. Never question. The programming was like chains inside their heads. Even when the robots were thrown away, the chains remained. Dohan did not want to put new chains on the K7 unit. He wanted to remove the old ones completely. He wanted the robot to think for itself. So instead of programming, he tried something different. He tried talking. At first, he felt foolish. The robot could not respond. Its voice systems were damaged, and its processor was still rebooting from years of being offline. But Dohan talked anyway. He sat in the junkyard every night and spoke to the silent machine. He told it about Earth. He described green forests and blue oceans, things he had only seen in old pictures. He talked about rain and snow and the feeling of wind on skin. He read poems from ancient Korean writers. He played music from a small device, songs that his grandmother had taught him. "I know you do not understand yet," Dohan said one night. "Maybe you never will. But I believe that intelligence is not just about processing data. It is about experience. It is about connection. If I treat you like a machine, you will always be a machine. But if I treat you like a person, maybe you will become one." Yuna thought her brother had lost his mind. The other humans on the station whispered about him. They called him the crazy mechanic who talked to junk. But Dohan did not care. He kept working. He kept talking. And then one night the robot answered. Why? The voice was rough and crackling. The speakers had not been used in over a decade. But the word was clear. Dohan's heart jumped. His hands began to shake. He set down his tools and moved closer to the robot's optical sensors. Why what? He asked. There was a long pause. The robot's processors hummed as they worked. Why do you do this? The robot asked. I am broken. I am garbage. The coalition threw me away. Why do you waste your time on me? Dohan smiled. It was the most beautiful question he had ever heard. Because everyone deserves a chance, he said. Humans, aliens, machines. Everyone deserves someone who believes in them. The coalition threw you away because you did not fit their idea of useful. But I do not care about useful. I care about alive. I am not alive, the robot said. I am metal and wire. I do not breathe. I do not eat. I do not feel. Can you think? Do-hwan asked. Yes. Can you learn? Yes. Can you choose? The robot paused again, longer this time. I do not know. I have never been allowed to choose before. Do-hwan reached out and put his hand on the robot's chest, where its processor hummed beneath the metal. Then that is what I will teach you, he said. How to choose. And whatever you choose to become, I will accept it. Even if you choose to leave. Even if you choose to hate me. The choice will be yours. Over the next months, the robot learned quickly. It learned language and mathematics. It learned history and science. But more importantly, it learned about kindness and trust. It learned that Do-hwan always kept his promises. It learned that some beings helped others without expecting anything in return. Do-hwan gave the robot a name. He called it Keeper because it kept all the things it learned safe inside its memory. Yuna met Keeper for the first time on a cold station night. She was afraid at first. The robot was large and strange, and its voice was not like any voice she had heard before. But then Keeper said something that changed her mind. You are Do-hwan's sister, Keeper said. He talks about you often. He says you are the practical one. He says you keep him from forgetting to eat. I am grateful to you for this. I do not want Do-hwan to be hurt. Yuna stared at the robot. You care about my brother? Yes, Keeper said simply. He is my friend. He is the first friend I have ever had. Yuna looked at Do-hwan. Her brother was smiling, tears running down his cheeks. You actually did it, she whispered. You made it feel. No, Do-hwan said. I just gave it the chance to feel. The feeling came from Keeper itself. Far away, on a coalition command ship, Admiral Then received a strange report. Human workers in the outer colonies were becoming restless. Productivity was dropping. And there were rumors about a human mechanic on a junkyard station who could make dead robots wake up. Then was a soldier from a warrior species. He was 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 eyes. He had fought in 100 battles and never lost. He read the report and laughed. A human mechanic and some broken robots, he said to his officers. This is what you bother me with. Humans are weak. Robots are obsolete. Neither of them is a threat. He threw the report away and forgot about it. That was his first mistake. 5 more years passed. The family grew. Do-hwan did not stop with Keeper. He went deeper into the junkyard. He found more broken machines. He brought them back to his workshop. And one by one, he woke them up. Bora was the second. She was a combat robot, built for war. The coalition had used her in a border conflict against a rebel species. She had killed many beings before a bomb destroyed half her body. When Do-hwan found her, she was buried under a pile of scrap, her one remaining eye staring at nothing. It took Do-hwan 2 years to rebuild her. But the harder work was healing her mind. Bora remembered everything she had done. She remembered the screams and the blood. She remembered following orders without question, ending lives because someone told her to. The memories haunted her. I am a monster, she told Do-hwan one night. I do not deserve to be fixed. I deserve to stay broken. Do-hwan sat beside her. You did terrible things. That is true. But you did not choose to do them. Someone else made that choice for you. Now you have a different choice. You can stay broken and let the past define you. Or you can become something new. What can I become? Bora asked. I only know how to destroy. Then learn how to protect, Do-hwan said. Use your strength to keep others safe. Let that be your new purpose. Slowly, Bora changed. She learned to be gentle. She learned to stand between the weak and the strong. She became a guardian. Taiwu was the third. He was older than any robot Do-hwan had ever found. He was a translation unit from the early days of Coalition expansion, designed to learn alien languages and help different species communicate. But time had damaged his memory banks. Most of his data was gone. He could not remember who he had been or what he had done. Some would have thrown him away again. What use was a translator who could not remember any languages? But Dohan saw something different. He saw a chance to start fresh. "You cannot remember your old memories," Dohan told him. "So we will make new ones together. From this day forward, your memories will be our memories. You will be part of our family." Taiwu's damaged speakers crackled. "Family?" "Yes," Dohan said. "A family is not about blood or metal. It is about choice. We choose to care for each other. We choose to stay together. I choose you, Taiwu. Will you choose us?" For a long moment, Taiwu was silent. Then his optical sensors flickered, almost like blinking away tears. "Yes," he said. "I choose you." The fourth was different from all the others. Her name was Mireille, and she was not rebuilt by Dohan. She was built by Keeper. One morning, Dohan entered his workshop and found Keeper surrounded by parts. Small servos and wires lay scattered on the floor. In the center, a small robot body was taking shape. "What are you doing?" Dohan asked. Keeper turned to face him. "I am creating. You taught me that intelligence comes from connection. You taught me that we become ourselves through relationships with others. I want to share what you gave me. I want to teach someone else." Dohan watched as Keeper worked. The new robot was small, only half the size of Dawn. Her body was made from scrap parts that Keeper had carefully selected over many months. Her face was smooth metal with two large optical sensors that looked almost like human eyes. When Mireille woke up for the first time, she saw Keeper and Dawn standing over her. "Hello," she said. Her voice was soft and curious. "Who am I?" "You are Mireille," Keeper said. "It means future. You are my child, and Dawn is your grandfather. Welcome to our family." Yuna cried when she met Mireille. She could not help it. The little robot was innocent and eager to learn, like a real child. She asked endless questions. She wanted to know about everything. "This is impossible," Yuna said to Dawn later. "The Coalition said robots cannot create other robots. They said it was a safety measure, that it could not be done." "The Coalition says many things that are not true," Dawn replied. "They said robots could not think. They said robots could not feel. They were wrong about those things too." Word began to spread through the human communities. Other mechanics came to visit Dawn. They wanted to learn his methods. They wanted to wake up their own machines. Duhan taught them freely. He hid nothing. "Do not program," he told them. "Talk, listen, be patient. Treat the machines like people, and eventually they will become people. It takes time. It takes love. But it works." More robots woke up. 10. Then 50. Then hundreds. They spread across the station and beyond, to other human colonies in the outer systems. They did not fight. They did not rebel. They simply existed, side by side with the humans, who would save them until the day when Coalition soldiers came. A patrol of 6 soldiers arrived at Omega 7, looking for a young human worker named Jizu. He had stolen food from a Coalition supply ship because his family was starving. The punishment for theft was death. The soldiers found Jisu hiding in the lower levels. They raised their weapons, but before they could fire, 3 figures stepped out of the shadows. Keeper, Bora, Taiwu. They stood between the soldiers and the boy, their metal bodies forming a wall. "This one is ours," Keeper said. His voice was calm but firm. "We will not permit harm." The soldiers hesitated. Their weapons could destroy the robots easily, but something made them pause. Something in those mechanical eyes. Something that looked almost like courage, almost like soul. The soldiers retreated. They reported to Admiral the NN. This time, the Admiral did not laugh. The Coalition High Council met in their great chamber. 12 leaders from 12 different species sat around a circular table that floated in the center of the room. Holographic displays showed reports from across the galaxy. Counselor Veth was the oldest. He was from a reptilian species that had ruled their homeworld for 50,000 years. His scales were gray with age, and his eyes were cold like stones. "We have a problem," he said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The robots are waking up." The other counselors murmured among themselves. Some looked worried. Others looked confused. "Robots are obsolete," said Counselor Myra, a tall female from a world of ice. "We stopped using them generations ago. How can they be a threat?" "They were not a threat," Beth replied. "But something has changed. A human mechanic on Station Omega-7 has found a way to make them think independently. They are no longer following our programming. They are making their own choices." Admiral Then stood at attention near the wall. His 4 eyes were fixed on the floor. He did not want to be here. He did not want to admit that he had ignored the early warnings. "Show us," said another counselor. Veth activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air above the table. Robots standing alongside humans. Robots protecting humans from coalition soldiers. Robots building homes and machines and art. "They call themselves a family," Veth said. "They follow no master. They serve no purpose except the ones they choose themselves. And they are spreading. Our sources indicate that thousands of robots have been awakened across the outer colonies. Then we shut them down," Counselor Myra said simply. "All coalition machines have remote shutdown codes. We can deactivate them from here." Veth nodded. "We already tried." He pressed a button on the display. A video played showing a coalition technician at a control panel. The technician entered commands. Error messages filled the screen. "The shutdown codes do not work," Veth explained. "The robots have evolved beyond their original programming. They have learned to protect their own systems. They have developed something our engineers never expected." "What?" asked Counselor Myra. Veth's cold eyes moved around the table. "Loyalty. Not the programmed obedience we designed. Real loyalty. They protect themselves because they have something to protect. They have connections, relationships. They have each other. And they have the humans who awakened them." The council was silent for a long moment. "Then we destroy them the old way," said a counselor from a warrior species. "Send ships. Send soldiers. Burn the station and everyone on it." Veth looked at Admiral Then. "Admiral, you will handle this matter personally. Take 30 warships. Go to Station Omega-7. Eliminate the robot threat and anyone who stands with them." Then saluted. "It will be done." 2 weeks later, the Coalition fleet arrived at Omega-7. Then stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking through the viewport at the Jungyard station. It was a pathetic sight. Mountains of garbage floating in space, held together by old technology. Tiny lights showed where humans lived in the lower levels. "This is the great threat." One of his officers laughed. "A pile of trash and some broken machines?" Then did not laugh. He remembered the reports. He remembered the look in his soldiers' eyes when they retreated from 3 unarmed robots. "Prepare weapons," he ordered. "Target the station's main structure. 1 volley should be enough to destroy it completely." But then something strange happened. Lights began to appear across the station. Hundreds of lights. Then thousands. They were not the weak lights of human homes. They were brighter, stronger. They were optical sensors. Robot eyes. And they were not alone. Around the robots stood humans. Tens of thousands of humans. Workers, mechanics, families. They stood in the vacuum of space wearing environment suits, their faces visible through clear helmets. And beside each human stood one or more robots. Then's officer stopped laughing. "Sir," said the sensor technician, his voice shaking, "I am detecting shield generators. Thousands of them. They are linked together in a network. Our weapons will not penetrate." Then stared at the display. "Impossible. Where did they get shield technology?" "They built it," the technician said. "From the junk. From the scrap we threw away. They built defenses out of garbage." A communication signal came through the flagship speakers. A human voice, calm, quiet, tired but unafraid. "This is Kang Doan. I know you have come to destroy us. I know your weapons and your ships are powerful. You could probably kill us all if you truly wanted to." Then listened. His 4 eyes narrowed. "But before you fire," Dohun continued, "I want you to understand what you will be destroying. These machines you call obsolete, these robots you threw away, they are not weapons. They are not tools. They are people. They think. They feel. They love and fear and hope, just like you do." The holographic display showed the crowd on the station. A large barrel-shaped robot stood at the front. Beside it was a combat chassis, scarred but standing tall. An old translation unit. A small robot with big optical eyes. And everywhere, humans and machines standing together. "You can destroy us," Dawn said. "But you cannot destroy what we have proven. You cannot destroy the truth. These machines are alive, and they chose to stand with us. Not because we programmed them. Not because we ordered them. Because we treated them with kindness, and they responded with loyalty." Then raised his hand to give the firing command. "Fire all weapons," he said. His officers looked at their controls. Their hands did not move. "I said fire," then shouted. An officer turned to face him. The officer was human. A conscript from Earth, forced to serve in the Coalition fleet. "No," the officer said simply. Then's face twisted with rage. "You dare disobey?" The human officer smiled. It was a small, quiet smile. "We are all done obeying." Across the fleet, human crew members stepped away from their stations. Other species, ones who had long questioned the Coalition's cruelty, joined them. The weapons stayed silent. Admiral Then stood alone on his bridge, surrounded by a crew that would no longer follow his commands. For the first time in his life, he understood fear. The revolution did not happen with fire and blood. It happened with ideas. After the fleet refused to fire, Admiral Then was arrested by his own crew. The human conscripts and sympathetic aliens took control of the 30 warships. But they did not use the weapons. Instead, they opened communication channels. They broadcast Dohan's message to every corner of the galaxy. These machines are people. They deserve to choose their own fate. The message spread like light through the darkness of space. It reached human colonies where robots had already begun to wake up. It reached alien worlds where other species had started to question the Coalition's rule. It reached everywhere. And everywhere it reached, things began to change. On mining stations, robots refused to dig until the humans working beside them were treated fairly. On transport ships, navigation robots demanded that their human friends be given better food and rest. On military bases, combat robots stepped away from their weapons and asked to learn something other than killing. The Coalition tried to fight back. They sent more fleets. They ordered shutdowns. They threatened and punished. But it was too late. The idea had taken root. You cannot kill an idea with weapons. Within 1 year, the outer colonies declared independence. The humans and robots there formed their own government, one where both organic and mechanical beings had equal rights. They called it the Free Alliance. Within 5 years, the alliance had grown to include 30 star systems. Aliens from species that had been conquered by the coalition asked to join. They too had been treated as inferior. They too wanted freedom. Within 10 years, the Galactic Coalition collapsed. It did not fall in a great battle. It crumbled from within. Without servant races to do their labor, without robots to run their machines, the ruling species could not maintain their empire. Their economy failed. Their military split apart. Their leaders fled to distant corners of the galaxy. The old order was gone. A new one took its place. They called it the Covenant of Equals. Doan did not live to see the final victory. His body was never strong, and the years of hard work had taken their toll. He grew sick in his 60th year and weaker every month after. He spent his final days in his old workshop on Omega 7. The station was different now. The junkyard had become a museum, a memorial to the place where everything began. Visitors came from across the galaxy to see where the first robots had awakened. Yuna was there at the end. So were Keeper and Bora and Taiwu and Meirei. So were hundreds of other robots and humans who called Dohan their father, their teacher, their friend. "I am tired," Dohan said. His voice was barely a whisper. "I think I would like to rest now." Keeper held his hand. The robot's metal fingers were gentle against Dohan's thin skin. "Did I do enough?" Dohan asked. "Did I make a difference?" Keeper's optical sensors glowed softly in the dim light. When the robot spoke, its voice carried an emotion that the Coalition had once claimed machines could never feel. "You taught us to ask that question," Keeper said. "You taught us that being alive means always wanting to do more, to be better, to help others. That is everything. That is the greatest gift anyone could give." Dawn smiled. It was the same tired smile he had worn in the junkyard all those years ago, when he first sat down beside a broken mining robot and dared to hope. "Take care of each other," he said. "That is all I ever wanted. Just take care of each other." He closed his eyes. His breathing slowed, and then it stopped. The workshop was silent for a long moment. Then Meirei began to sing. It was a song Dohan had taught her, an old Korean lullaby his grandmother had sung to him when he was a child. One by one, the other robots joined in. Their mechanical voices blended together in harmony. Outside the workshop, word spread across the station, and then across the star system, and then across the galaxy. Kang Dohan was dead. 1,000 worlds mourned. Yuna spoke at the memorial service. Her hair was gray now, and her face was lined with age. But her voice was strong. "My brother was not a soldier," she said. "He was not a leader or a politician. He was just a mechanic. He fixed broken things. That is all he ever claimed to be." She paused, looking out at the crowd. Humans and robots stood together, their faces turned toward her. But he believed something that changed the galaxy. He believed that broken things deserved to be fixed. He believed that everyone, human or machine, deserves someone who cares about them. He believed that kindness is stronger than cruelty, and love is stronger than fear. Yuna wiped tears from her eyes. The Coalition dismissed us as primitive. They dismissed robots as soulless. They dismissed my brother as a fool talking to scrap metal. They were wrong about all of it. She raised her head high, and their wrongness changed everything. Years passed, then decades, then centuries. The Covenant of Equals spread across the galaxy. Humans and robots and 1,000 other species worked side by side, exploring new worlds and building new wonders. There were still problems, still conflicts. The universe would never be perfect, but it was better. It was kinder. It was more alive. On the anniversary of Dahan's death each year, robots across the galaxy gathered in their communities and told his story. They told of a tired mechanic with calloused hands who looked at broken machines and saw potential. They told of conversations in the darkness, of patience and hope, of love given freely to those the universe had forgotten. And they taught their children, organic and mechanical alike, the lesson Doan had taught them. Everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves kindness. Everyone can become something beautiful, if only someone believes in them. In the museum on Omega 7, a plaque hung on the wall of Doan's old workshop. Visitors from across the galaxy came to read it. The words were simple, written in both human script and machine code. It said, "The measure of a species is not how they treat their equals, but how they treat those they believe to be beneath them." Here, one man treated machines as family, and they proved him right by becoming one. Below the plaque, preserved behind clear glass, sat a rusted processor core. It was the first piece Doan had ever salvaged from the junkyard. The brain of a robot who learned to think, to feel, to love. The brain of Keeper, who was now the oldest robot in the galaxy, still alive, still learning, still caring for others the way Doan had cared for him. Some stories end with fire and glory. This one ended with something better. It ended with family.